Hello. So this is a very basic introductory video on jcstress. We'll be discussing what jcstress is, how to use it, and how to kick off your first stress test for Java concurrency. So jcstress is Java concurrency stress testing framework which you can use to check whether your concurrent programs or multi-threaded programs are behaving correctly or not. What you are intended to do, is it doing that thing or not, or is it like having some issues? So to quickly start with jcstress, here's the page that you can see where you can have like all the things to get started with jcstress. You can go over to this page. The link of this page I'll post it in the description of this video. You can go to this page and read out all of the things. I'll just like concentrate on how you can get started with the first concurrency stress test for using jcstress. So as you can see, we have a public Maven archetype which will give you a template project and which will help you build your stress tests without you writing the whole code from scratch. So we'll be trying out this thing now. So let us now start with a new project which will be generating using using the Maven archetype. So let us call it as jcstress test, and we'll be opening the shell out here. And now what we'll be doing is we'll be just typing that whole command that's given on that site. So I have this whole command out here. Note that if you're working with Windows environment, you'll have to put double quotes over each of the options that you are giving onto the Maven archetype. That is just because they do not get interpreted as something else, and we do what we want to do. Another thing that I like to highlight here is that on the side that you can see here, we have the archetype version as 0.11. But the latest version 0.4, so I have also updated the version out to here, and we'll be just running this command. So the command ran successfully and it has generated a sample project for us. Let's have a look onto that. So this is the project that's being generated. It has already generated a pom.xml for you. So now what you need to do is just like you need to go into this directory and tell jcstress that okay, now I want to start with the fresh build. So what you can do is like you can do a cd test and you can say maven clean install. And what this thing will do is it'll build all of your project and it'll generate a jcstress-jar, which you can see that a target folder is generated, and this target folder we have jcstress-jar. So this is basically the jar that we'll be using for running our tests. Let us have a look what is actually inside this jar. So in this jar, you can see that we have all of the classes that's the API for jcstress. But the thing on which you should concentrate is like what's the main class that will be running. So if we go to manifest and we just will have to see what's the content of this manifest. So the main file, main class that it's running is org.openjdk, jstress, and main. So this is the class that this will be using as a main and will be providing as an argument to this main class all of our tests that we want to run. Okay, fair enough. Now let's have a quick look at how we can run the tests. So what we can do is like we can just say java -jar and the jar that it generated with a verbose option. So when you run this command, what will happen is the Java this jcstress testing framework would kick off all of the tests that it already has, and it will start running them, and you can like at the end see what's the result of those tests. So as you can see, it has spawned up like multiple JVMs and it's running, the tests, you can see multiple tests that are executing, and after this test finishes, we'll be getting a summary of how the tests were, and we'll be discussing further in the video where we'll be discussing how to interpret these tests and how we can actually go about whether your library that you are testing for concurrency issues is like working good or not. So this is how you can like basically kick off the thing. So now I'd like you to see is what test it ran. So when we again go to the jcstress-jar and see the contents of this jar in the MANIFEST.MF, there's a file called test list, and this test list is actually the file that the jar picks up for finding what tests it has to run. So as you can see, there's a package with a called org.sample and a test into that called concurrency test, which it is actually running. So where this concurrency test came from, it's generated as a sample project from the when you did a Maven clean install. So this is how it works. Now, if you have to add your own tests, you add it, and you just have to say Maven clean install, and all of those new tests would come into this file. And when you will be running your this command which we ran just now, this command, it'll pick up those tests and run them. Now, if you want to run some specific tests, you can also do that by -t option and just say concurrency test, and it will just run that test. It will not run anything else, but it will run that particular test. So this is how about we can run all the tests or any of the specific tests